to me, Shams Charania comes out and drops a bomb on him. Indiana Fever, three-time WNBA All-Star Aliyah Boston is signing a 4-year, $6.3 million contract extension with the franchise, giving her the richest total salary in league history to date. Zach Miller of WNBA Basketball tells Alexa Philippou and Kendra Andrews. Boston will make $1 million in the upcoming season.
Shams Charania just dropped a bomb that changed the entire landscape of the WNBA. Aliyah Boston, the Indiana Fever's cornerstone, just signed a 4-year, $6.3 million contract extension. That's the richest total salary in league history, not just for centers, not just for second-year players, the richest contract ever signed in the WNBA. And the timing of this deal tells you everything about what Indiana is planning for the next 3 years.
And 20% of the cap from 27 to 29. So from 27 to 29, 20% of the cap. Looks like those years are going to be super max dollars. This year, she's getting $1 million. Nice. Congratulations to Aliyah Boston. Well earned, hard earned, and shout out to you-know-who for making all this possible.
Let's break down the structure because the details matter here. Boston gets $1 million in the upcoming 2025 season. That's already elite money. But here's where it gets interesting. From 2027 to 2029, she's locked in at 20% of the salary cap each year. That's supermax territory. Zach Miller of WNBA Basketball negotiated this deal, and the structure is brilliant. They're betting on the cap exploding as the new media rights deal kicks in. By 2027, 20% of the cap could be worth significantly more than $1 million per year. This isn't just a contract. It's a strategic investment in the Fever's championship window.
I'm assuming it's AB this year, and I'm assuming it's going to be CC next year. With all of these other players taking pay cuts, I wouldn't put it past Caitlin Clark saying, I'll take a little bit less to get people here. But also knowing that the Indiana Fever have to pay a premium to get not the best free agent. If I'm her advisor, if I'm her agent, I'm saying, Caitlin, you take every damn dollar you earned. Don't leave a penny on the table. Don't leave a cent on the floor. You take it all. You get that super max epic deal because you've earned it and you've deserved it.
Now here's what makes this fascinating from a roster construction standpoint. Boston is locked down through 2029. That gives Indiana a 4-year runway with their franchise center secured. But she's not the only star on this roster. Caitlin Clark becomes extension eligible after this season. And if you're Kelly Krauskopf, the Fever's president of basketball operations, you're already planning that conversation. Clark is going to command a supermax deal. There's zero question about that. She's the biggest draw in women's basketball history. The Fever sold out every home game last season. Their road games became destination events. Clark earned every dollar she's about to get. The question isn't whether Indiana will pay her. The question is what happens to the rest of the roster when you've got 2 players taking up 40% of your salary cap, because that's the reality they're walking into. Boston at 20%, Clark at 20%, that's your foundation. Everything else has to be built around those 2 contracts.
Napheesa Collier signed a 1-year supermax, and she's a free agent after this season. Indiana, you go and you give Caitlin Clark that supermax. You go, and if you can afford it, you give Napheesa Collier that supermax. You have those 3 players taking 60% of the cap. You got Lexi Hull, she's still making what? $800,000 next year. You got Monique Billings, she'll be making $800,000 next year. And then you just sprinkle minimums all over them. The right type of player. The right type of minimum player that fits the lineup. Not just any old minimum. the right style, the right fit, the right need. And you fill this roster with the...
But there's another player who becomes incredibly relevant to this conversation. Napheesa Collier. She signed a one-year Supermax with Minnesota last offseason. That means she's a free agent after the 2025 season. Same timeline as Caitlin Clark. And Collier is arguably the best two-way player in the WNBA right now. She averaged 21 points, 11 rebounds, and played elite defense all season. She carried Minnesota to the semifinals while Rebecca Brunson retired, and the roster turned over around her. She did it essentially by herself. Now imagine Collier looking at the WNBA landscape next offseason. New York is stacked with Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. Las Vegas has Aja Wilson and the defending championship core. Atlanta is rebuilding and just lost most of their starting lineup in free agency. Minnesota's roster is in flux. Where does Collier have the best chance to win multiple championships? Indiana starts looking pretty attractive when you've got Clark and Boston already locked in.
Bunch of minimums, and you got AB, Napheesa Collier, and Caitlin Clark. That's disgusting. Crown me now, please, and thank you. I mean, who knows? Maybe Napheesa Collier is looking around, and she's saying, man, I might need a few running mates to go beat them over there in New York. Man, I might need a few running mates to go beat them over there in Las Vegas. Man, I see the Atlanta Dream stacking up in here. My entire starting five has disappeared except for Kayla McBride and Courtney Williams, and I'm all by myself. Maybe Napheesa Collier is asking herself, maybe I do need to go partner up with CC22. Maybe I do need to go partner up with AB7 and get it cracking.
Here's the hypothetical roster construction that could actually work. You sign Caitlin Clark to the Supermax. That's 20% of the cap. You've already got Aliyah Boston at 20%. Now you offer Napheesa Collier a Supermax deal. That's another 20%. You're at 60% of your cap for 3 players. That sounds insane until you look at what you're getting. The best point guard in the league, an elite defensive center who can score in the post, and an all-NBA forward who can defend multiple positions and create her own shot. That's your championship core. Then you look at the rest of the roster. Lexi Hull is still under contract for 2026 at roughly $185,000. That's a bargain for a player who shot 47% from 3 last season and plays solid defense. Monique Billings is making around $200,000 as a backup big who can give you quality minutes. Those are the kind of value contracts you need when your top 3 players are eating up most of your cap space.
In the house, you got Lexi, you got Sophie and Timpson. You got Billings saying what's up to the squad. You got January and Sophie Cunningham. Kelsey and CC, folks. I will say this right now. This hug looks genuine for real. I think Kelsey likes these kids. I think Kelsey actually forget all that. Kelsey herself, she's her own. I think she actually likes these kids. I think it's genuine. I think she actually likes playing with Caitlin Clark. I think she actually likes playing with AB. What that means moving forward, it's a story for another day. But I don't think Kelsey's faking the funk here. I mean, I know 1.4 million makes you a little bit happier, but money's not everything. I think Kelsey actually likes this, and I think it's reciprocal as well. I think they like her too. You know, Stephanie White's embracing. Brianne January. They like Kelsey, man. They like them. They love themselves some Kelsey Mitchell. AB lifting Kelsey up, hoisting Kelsey up like they've been separated for years.
Let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell for a second, because this situation is more complex than people realize. She just signed a one-year, $1.4 million deal to return to Indiana. That's not a supermax, but it's significant money, and the body language in that training camp footage is telling. Watch how Aliyah Boston lifts Kelsey up when she walks in. That's genuine excitement. That's not manufactured for the cameras. These players have chemistry. They actually like playing together. Mitchell carried the Fever for stretches last season when Clark was injured and Boston was still finding her rhythm. She averaged 19 points per game and shot 40% from three. She's been the most consistent scorer on this roster for 3 years. But here's the reality. If Indiana goes all in on Clark, Boston, and potentially Collier, Mitchell becomes the odd player out financially. She's 29 years old, she'll be 30 next season. Her timeline doesn't perfectly align with a championship window that peaks in 2027 through 2029. That doesn't mean she can't be part of this, but it means she might have to take less money than she could get elsewhere to stay. And that's a conversation that's going to happen behind closed doors this offseason. Because Mitchell has value around the league. Multiple teams would pay her well to be their primary scoring guard.
She's been out she's been out for the last year. She's finally coming home, lifting Kelsey Mitchell up. I don't know why the Fever would mess with this type of chemistry. That's something that they're going to need to deal with themselves. But I think the big three, I think they actually rock with each other. So hopefully that translates to the court this upcoming season, because we can get to see them a whole lot. Like,
Stephanie White is back as head coach, and that matters more than people realize. She coached the Fever to the playoffs in 2016. She knows the organization, she has existing relationships with the front office, and most importantly, she's a player's coach who can manage egos and personalities. That's crucial when you're trying to build a championship roster around multiple superstars. White's system in Connecticut emphasized pace, three-point shooting, and defensive versatility. That's exactly what this Fever roster is built for. Clark pushes the tempo in transition. Boston anchors the defense. Hall and Mitchell space the floor. If you add Collier to that mix, you've got a team that can play fast or slow, big or small, depending on matchups.
Next year, Caitlin Clark only playing 13 games. It was pretty much the AB and Kelsey Mitchell show for the whole season. Kelsey carried, AB had a game, he had a few games here, had a couple good games there. She chipped in, she played her part. I don't want to diminish what AB did. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I know it kind of sounded like that. I'm not trying to do that. But this upcoming season, we're going to have the three of them back together. We're going to see what they can really do. The three of them with Stephanie White. Methany! We're going to really see what we got going on. And now we got the rookies saying hello.
Hey y'all, it's the rookies here. I'm Justine.
I'm Raven. And I'm Jessica. We just touched down in Indy and we can't wait to get to work.
Woo! Hey.
They just touched down in Indy and they can't wait to get to work. Shout out to Aliyah Boston. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video.
Here's what makes Aliyah Boston's extension so significant beyond just the money. This is Indiana making a statement about their timeline. They're not rebuilding, they're not in a patient development mode. They're going for championships starting in 2027. That 3-year window from 2027 to 2029 is when Boston and Clark will both be in their primes, locked into supermax deals, and surrounded by the pieces Indiana can acquire over the next 2 years. Boston averaged 14 points and 9 rebounds last season while adjusting to playing with Clark and dealing with the chaos of the Fever's coaching change mid-season. She's going to be better in 2025 with a full training camp under Stephanie White. She's going to have better spacing with Mitchell and Hull shooting from the perimeter, and she's going to have more opportunities to score in transition with Clark pushing the pace. The foundation is already there. Now it's about adding the final pieces. The Fever had money left over after free agency. They could have spent it on role players or veteran depth. Instead, they invested it in locking down their 23-year-old franchise center for 4 more years. That's the move a team makes when they believe they're building something special. That's the move a team makes when they think they can win multiple championships with this core. Clark is going to get her Supermax extension next offseason. That's guaranteed. The only question is whether Indiana can convince Napheesa Collier to join them. Because if they can pull that off, if they can get Collier to sign in Indiana and pair her with Clark and Boston, you're looking at a team that could dominate the league for the next 5 years. Think about the matchup problems that creates. Who's guarding Clark on the perimeter? Who's stopping Boston in the post? Who's defending Collier when she's attacking closeouts or posting up smaller defenders? You'd need 3 elite defenders just to contain those 3 players. And even then, you're leaving shooters like Hull open on the perimeter. New York would still be a problem with Stewart and Ionescu. Las Vegas isn't going anywhere as long as they have Aja Wilson. But Indiana would have the talent to compete with anyone. They'd have the depth to survive injuries. And they'd have the coaching to maximize their roster in the playoffs. This is the bet Indiana is making. They're betting that the new CBA and media rights deal will increase the salary cap enough that paying 3 superstars won't completely hamstring their roster flexibility. They're betting that Clark's star power will continue to drive revenue and make Indiana a destination for veteran free agents willing to take minimum contracts for a chance to win. They're betting that Boston will continue developing into an elite two-way center who can defend the rim and score efficiently in the post. And they're betting that this 3-year window from 2027 to 2029 is when everything comes together, when the roster is perfectly balanced, when the chemistry is locked in, when the experience is there. That's when they expect to win championships. Not next year, not in 2026, but in that 2027 to 2029 window when Boston and Clark are both locked into Supermax deals and performing at their absolute peak. Aliyah Boston just became the highest paid player in WNBA history by total contract value. But this isn't just about her. This is about Indiana building a dynasty. This is about Kelly Krauskopf and Stephanie White constructing a roster that can compete for championships for the next 5 years. This is about Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston forming one of the most dominant duos in women's basketball. So the question isn't whether Boston deserved this contract. She absolutely did. The question is whether Indiana can execute the rest of the plan. Can they sign Clark to a supermax next offseason? Can they convince Nafisa Collier to leave Minnesota and join this project? Can they fill out the roster with the right role players and shooters? Can Stephanie White maximize this talent and turn it into championships? Because if they can do all of that, if they can execute this plan perfectly, we're going to look back at this Aliyah Boston extension as the moment everything changed for the Indiana Fever, the moment they went from a rebuilding team to a legitimate championship contender, the moment they built a foundation that could dominate the WNBA for the next 5 years. What do you think? Can Indiana pull this off? Can they convince Collier to join Clark in Boston, or is this plan too ambitious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more WNBA breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button, because this league is about to get very interesting over the next 2 years.